Welcome to Stuck, Time to Improv. I'm Mary Scott with Business Ref, and I want startups to be wildly successful. One of the unique things you can do when you're branding is maybe you need to be in a new category. So I'm so excited to have Fru Pintér here talking about exactly that. Thanks for coming, Fru.
Hey Mary, thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here and share a bit of a tidbits of experience I'm having in the field.
Okay, so this is a whole new idea to me anyway about creating your own category. So let's talk about that. How did you come up with that?
That happened per coincidence. So I'm in branding for the past 10 years, and I started off as each brand designer does. I started branding for various kinds of businesses, trying to find my niche, went into different niches as my calling also changed throughout my practice. And then businesses started to approach me that were having innovative ideas. So I couldn't get with them into a cookie cutter like branding process, which is strategy, and then we map out their target audience, we map out their competitors, and so on. So this was a streamlined process I was having, but I started to notice that no, they just don't fit the form. So I started to approach their branding as a completely different thing and creating their own different category. So more and more products and services come up that are actually innovative, AI or non-AI related, like even products, innovations, new things. And they call for absolutely new categories. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm doing branding for innovative businesses. And that doesn't have to be a product. That doesn't have to be a new invention. It can be a very, very unique combination of things that somebody sells as a service, for example.
Okay. Do you have an example of a service that you ended up creating a new category for?
Absolutely. So, for example, one of my clients, she started to combine her pole dancing, her creativity with knowledge management. So that was actually really, really exciting to not to have to put her in a usual knowledge management situation and a usual branding for that, but actually create something that combines all of these things and helps her create her best life.
What did you call the new category?
We didn't actually give it a name, so we didn't coin anything, but creative knowledge management. So actually, she brings in tools from creativity to then implement in knowledge management, and this is how she approaches her entire working process, which then raises an issue and raises a challenge of how do you communicate this to the client, right? So a lot of our branding went about like, okay, how do we make people understand what she is doing, how we make them ease into this new category we created, and how we communicate that in a most effective way.
Okay, so in a way, that is a different style of branding. You're creating a new brand with a new category. How does this translate into things like LinkedIn or Facebook if you have to give them a category for your business page?
Well, that's a very good question. So unfortunately, there we have to stick to the closest by category, right? So if it would be, let's say, food innovation, then we would have to find, if it's a drink, then we would have to find the soft drink. So that would go into the first bucket, right? But then you can refine on that and actually establish your own language of speaking with your people and your own way of communicating what you're actually selling.
So do you have other branding tips for startups?
I would say make the things you wish existed. This is the motto for my own business. I'm having several businesses, and I really, really love that each one of them came from an inner urge of I wanted something to exist. And then I got so sick and tired of looking for it all over the internet and anything. I would have paid anything to find a solution to my problem or find something that it was very, very dear to me. So at some point, I just ended up making them. And I'm very lucky to work with people and create brands for people who are on the same page. So, for example, food innovation. This guy I've worked with, and that's still NDA, so I cannot mention much more. He just figured that he wanted something that didn't exist. So he went a long way to create this. And now we are there just before launch. So for example, this other brand I was mentioning before, she's seen that this does not exist on the market. And this particular solution she's providing is just not there in no form. So there are these big buckets, what you mentioned before, but this specific thing is actually not there. So she established her business this way. So I think finding actually what makes you passionate and what is your calling and sticking to it will make your business also more sustainable, because you will get motivated and you will also implement your brand then easier. I can do my job in a very best way. I can design logos, whatever, an entire identity, communication strategy, websites, whatever. But if you, as the CEO or as a CEO of the startup, don't implement this because you are not motivated to bring it onwards, then all that work is lost.
Right. So branding and marketing is a team effort. Yeah, if you don't follow through on the information and advice you're given, then you can't expect the results you may have been suggested in the first place.
Absolutely. And you have to make it sustainable for yourself and for your team as well. And that goes down to, again, this intrinsic motivation of wanting to make this work as well.
Right. The whole team has to buy into it and understand what the new presentation form is, understand how to do that and be very clear that we're doing this, which has not been done before, combining A and B.
Exactly. And that can be very scary when you create a new category, because all of us jump to conclusions of, soda, that will be that brand, and then we will follow their communication strategy. But actually, what is interesting to then convince your team, and also for me, convince my clients that actually we have a huge, huge, huge opportunity here to create something that stands out.
You're doing something like soda and somebody has come up with a low carbonated version or a slightly alcoholic version, to come up with a new name for it altogether. A friend of mine makes kombucha, but it's not the traditional kombucha. So we came up with, hey, you need to be able to call this kombucha.
Please put me in touch with this person.
Yes, exactly. So this is part of adding the creativity, not being afraid to go someplace that other people haven't gone. And if you fall on your face, you learn something, right?
Exactly. I mean, all businesses, right? And I think this is a challenge to be something completely new, because people don't know how to relate to you. You don't know how to communicate it. At the same time, this is very powerful. If you nail it, you
Mhm.
have something completely new and surprising, and that surprise effect can then work as an avalanche. And it's also interesting how this fits, for example, into brand archetypes. So if you don't know about that, are 12, 36 according to different systems. So you would think that all challenger brands or all brands that are creating new category are the creator brands. No, actually, amongst all archetypes can be new category brands. So it was interesting. I started to research how these two coincide, but actually these new brands don't all have to be daring and creative and inspiring and so on. So they can again attach back to completely different desires of their customers in different ways while being a new category, if that makes sense.
It does. And thank you so much for coming and raising this topic for startups.
Thank you so
I'm
much for having me.
I'm Mary Scott with Business Riff. I want startups to be wildly successful, and one of the best things you can do to accomplish that is book a call with me at businessriff.com and join us again next time for Stuck, Time to Improv.